Hi everyone, welcome to the Mood Wellness Workshop with CAPS. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Mylene. I'm a mental wellness peer educator and I'm joined with.
Hi, my name is Leah. I'm also a mental wellness peer educator, and my pronouns are she and her.
And my pronouns are also she and her. So again, thank you so much for being here. We just wanted just tell you a quick information before we get into the topic today. So first, we just want to mention that we want to promote a safe space here where everyone can um, share what they'd like to share if they're comfortable, and we want to promote a space where everyone can be comfortable and also whatever is in the chat stays within the chat. However, we cannot 100% promise confidentiality. So yeah, so this is our new wellness workshop. CAPS also offers so many other workshops that really looks at different mental health topics that impact students. So we also have sleep, mood, which is what we'll be getting into today, thought, stress, and emotional wellness. If that's something that you're interested in, I definitely recommend keeping up with CAPS like with our website as well as our Instagram, which is CSC with CAPS. And we'd like to start off with the objectives for the workshop. So these are the skills that we hope you can gain through attending this workshop with us today. So first we want to learn how to identify our emotions. This definitely can seem very easy at first glance, but it can be really hard to identify what we're experiencing when our emotions can be like overwhelming or difficult. And something that I realize is that a lot of us aren't really taught like how to manage our mood through an early age, but also in school, and there's not a lot of open conversations about it. So you can say it's kind of like something that we're expected to really know, like how to manage our mood. And if that's something that you relate to as well, like that's definitely understandable. And we hope that what you learned today can be helpful skills for yourself. Secondly, we want to learn how to understand and accept difficult emotional experiences. So we'll get to talk deeper about these things, but we're going to be sharing some skills like how we can label and frame our emotions. And then you'll probably notice that we won't use the terms like good or bad emotions, just because using the word bad can mean that there's some emotions that should be suppressed or ashamed of. We're going to say this probably later, but we also want to understand emotions as a natural part of our experience. And our last objective is to increase our skills to manage painful emotions, but we also want to learn how to invite more positive emotions as well because these are.
Okay, so we have this cute little picture with a bunch of sheep. So what we want to ask, probably each other for now, if anyone's in chat, you're free to share too. On the sheep scale, how are you feeling today?
For me, I'm gonna say 9 just because I got up this morning and I did everything I needed to do, and when I have like a good morning routine, like I feel like good for the rest of the day. So I feel like
Nice.
Right.
I think I'm feeling a little bit like a 4 today, just like just trying to trudge along the semester and do the best that I can. I'm still here, but head in the bucket sometimes. But, yeah. Okay, awesome. Let's move on. So let's look at this triangle right here. So this is called the cognitive triangle. And when we talk about emotions, we actually have 3 components to the way that we think. So we have our thoughts, our feelings, and our emotions. And feelings, like compared to emotions, feelings are a result of a person's belief system or an interpretation about an event or experience. These are more like physical things that you experience when you're in a certain situation. Emotional, of course, is the more internal, mental stimulation that you feel in a situation. And of course, our thoughts are the things that we kind of like think to ourselves, what we say to ourselves inside. So let's move on. So you can see here that our thoughts, feelings, and emotions kind of affect one another, and then eventually they can result in like a behavior or action. So let's start, for example, with the topmost one, the I'm so bad at math example. So when we think that way, maybe when we see a math test, we, have a tightness in our chest. Maybe we feel very nervous or anxious emotionally when we think about math. So eventually you can kind of like get into this spiral of thought where you don't feel safe when you're, doing your math homework or your math class. Maybe you feel like a lump in your throat and then you get sad. And then the resultant action is that you can shut down verbally. So you can see that certain ways that our emotions, feelings, and thoughts kind of play into each other can contribute to how we act and behave. So yeah.
So, thank you for explaining that super well. Like we talked about the three different components of it, and it's also important to understand like how we can actually use the cognitive triangle to help us. And really like the main idea of this is that adjusting like one part of the triangle can help you have more healthier responses. So for this example, I wanted to use the thought or this idea that like you're bad at math. And you might notice some physical sensations or signs such as sweaty palms. And then you might identify like what you're feeling. You're feeling worried or you have a lot of fear. So especially if you're able to identify like your emotions early on, this can be a really good intervention, and you can really help yourself by shifting something such as your behavior. So this behavior can look like asking for help, like asking help from a teacher or a peer. And by doing that, like this change in behavior can help you change your thoughts. And one thought can look like people can help me with what I need when I ask for help. And then as you can see, this person might feel like more at ease and more confident in their skills. So again, like we can really see like how recognizing and addressing our emotions early on can help you like break the cycle of maybe like spiraling thoughts or difficult emotions that can get like really intense in the moment. So hopefully like you can see like how you might be able to apply it to your own life and when you're dealing with like some challenges or struggles.
Right, so let's move on to an acronym that we like to use in order to encourage, like a sort of like encourage a more like healthy kind of state of mind. So what we want to do is, of course, we want to treat physical illnesses. We want to eat healthy, avoid mood altering drugs. I don't know why it says avoid, but that's a little funny. But avoid mood altering drugs. So sleep well and then exercise. So that would be please. PLEAS. And we also want to think about positive events. So it's pretty common for us to kind of focus on the negative events that happen in our life, of course, because sometimes we dwell on them, sometimes they're really painful, and it can get kind of hard to kind of like change your perspective or frame your mind on anything else. But we also want to acknowledge that we have positive experiences. So, we want to emphasize that positive experiences happen to us too. We want to make sure that we can maybe put our experiences in a different perspective and focus on the bigger picture. One way, people like to put this, rejection can be redirection. Maybe you didn't get something that you wanted necessarily, but maybe in the long term, maybe more opportunities will open up for you, something better fitting you, or better serving you will come. And then also we want to express that small positive actions also go a long way. This can be anywhere from, maybe helping your neighbor carry their groceries to their house, or, just saying hi to someone when they're passing by, having a small chat. So just having that kind of like positive interactions in your daily life can do a lot to boost your mood.
And like when you talked about like having a different perspective, I also think of like a quote that helps me like one step at a time. I feel like everyone can find like something that resonates.
Yeah.
Yeah, so for me, it's kind of like having that. Yeah, I wanted to share that. And then another skill that might be helpful for you is something called opposite action. And it really sounds, or really is like what it sounds like. It means like acting in an opposite way. And with emotions, it can cause us to react and move in certain ways. And in this model, it's something called our action urge. And the main idea here is that by acting like an opposite way, it can help us decrease the intensity of our emotions, and it can also help promote like more healthy behaviors as well. And it really starts again with identifying like your internal experiences and your emotions. And we just want to acknowledge that identifying how you're feeling and your emotions can be really helpful. And I'm gonna get into like some certain examples of emotions where you can use opposite action, but it isn't limited to the ones like that are being shown. And just a helpful way like to think about emotions that I recently found is from a quote that's like emotions are data. So like emotions, they give us important like information, valuable information about experiences, but it doesn't always have to like dictate like our actions or decisions. So that's something to keep in mind like with opposite action. So for example, with fear, an action urge might be to run away or avoid. So an example of this, a more specific example of this is if you're somebody who has a big fear of public speaking and you might have a big class presentation that's really important. An action urge might be to avoid by skipping that class and not presenting at all. But when you consider this emotion and its opposite action, you might tell yourself that you should go anyway, and even though you're nervous, you can give it your all. And then the screen it says participate fully, but I just also want to open it to like participate as much as you can. Like sometimes small steps can be super helpful. So maybe for this person, like just doing the presentation anyway, doing the best they can is like that first step. And then from there, like they can assess like what they need help with and like what things they want to work on. That can be an opposite action for next time when they do a presentation, and maybe like continuing to improve each time can help them to realize that like doing presentations aren't as like scary as they once thought. So that's one perspective with fear. And then with anger, an action urge might be to attack a person if you're in some sort of conflict. Let's say like a roommate or a partner or a stranger or someone you just met. And yeah, like emotions can get really intense like when you feel anger, and it's very normal. Like if you're in a situation, you can like tell yourself and invite yourself to partake in some sort of opposite action. So in this table it says to gently avoid, be kind, see their perspective, and it can also be like removing yourself from the situation a little bit and like process like what's happening and like what you're feeling. Um, and then again, like seeing the perspective and then possibly addressing the issue or talking to that person again, like when you feel ready and when you feel in control. So that's an example of opposite action when it comes to anger. And lastly, we also wanted to talk about sadness, and a really common action urge is to withdraw and to like isolate yourself. An opposite action can be to be with others, just increase time, like quality time with your support system. And increasing activity can look like engaging with the hobbies that you've had, um, finding ways to engage in things that you used to love. Like that can be super helpful, and it's definitely helped me when I've like gone through sadness and like difficult times. So yeah, the main idea is that, you know, the action urges like don't always have to dictate your experiences, and you can feel in control. We also wanted to emphasize like another skill, like checking the facts. And it can be a really helpful like immediate coping skill when you're finding yourself with spiraling thoughts and reactions. And it can be an opportunity for you to reflect on whether like your thoughts or even your emotions are like actually based on reality. And as you can see here, you just highlighted that you don't have to believe or do not believe everything you think, and thoughts are not 100% facts. It can be important to try to put some space between you and your reaction, as it can change your relationship to your thoughts. You can watch them come and go instead of treating them as a matter of fact. And we're gonna go through like a process that can be helpful when you're stuck on negative thoughts or multiple negative thoughts. And these are specifically things that you can ask yourself. So the first one is this true? And oftentimes you might tell yourself like, oh yes, like, but at the same time, like this can be like the autopilot like within you that is reacting right now and believing right now. So moving into number two, it's asking yourself the same question, but asking it like, is it absolutely true? Is this thought 100% accurate? Can you see the thought in a different way? And number three really highlights like noticing and observing like how this thought is making you feel. So the question here is, how does this thought make you feel? So this can look like really looking into any storylines you're holding on to, and really like identifying and naming your feelings. Like, are you feeling sad, angry? Are you feeling jealous or hurt? And once you're able to ask yourself those questions, like this last question can be really helpful in this type of situation. And it's, what would things look like if I didn't hold this belief? So in the last question, it's really checking in with yourself, but then this question can give more opportunity to reflect on yourself and on your reaction. So like, what are possible benefits to your relationships, your energy levels and motivation? And another thing I wanted to add was also like imagining maybe your future self, like imagine like your values and the things that serve you, and also taking a look at those things. And yeah, so this is a skill that can be helpful when you're dealing with these types of thoughts.
So next we also want to introduce another acronym that's kind of helpful for just kind of like pulling back and kind of like grounding yourself a little bit. So it would be STOP, and then it stands for stop, take a deep breath, observe, pull back or try changing your perspective, and also just practicing what works for you. And also we want to emphasize letting go of emotional suffering. Oftentimes when we talk about our emotions, we kind of like end up identifying with ourselves. So with that emotion rather. And for example, when we say like, I am sad, but it's not that you're sad, it's like you're having the feeling of being sad. So we kind of want to create like a distance between what we're feeling or thinking versus our identity or who we are. So, we suggest observing your emotions, acknowledging that these emotions exist, not judging or rejecting your emotions. Emotions are not necessarily good or bad. Again, these are just natural responses to things or experiences that are happening to you. And we also experience emotion in waves, so it comes and goes. So again, we wanted to practice saying, instead of I am sad, you can say I'm having the feeling of sadness. Or if you're saying like, I think that I will fail, you can say that I'm having the thought that I will fail. So it's kind of creating that distance, giving yourself that kind of compassion to have that space that you are not your emotions.
So we also wanted to really highlight something called mindfulness, and if you haven't heard about it, it's a really, or it can be really helpful like coping skill, and it's essentially like letting like every emotion in your thought and your experience, like I like to explain it, like flow through you and like accepting it even if it's unpleasant. So trying your best to like live in the moment and not like dwelling on the past or anticipating like future events. And we wanted to show you this video. It gives a really good insight on what mindfulness is and how it really is about like self-compassion and like knowing how we're feeling. Like as we're feeling them, it can be very powerful skill to have. So yeah, we're gonna play this video and just, you know,
There is a story, usually attributed to the Native American tradition, which illuminates different ways of paying attention. An elder, talking to a child, says, "I have two wolves fighting in my heart. One wolf is fearful, vengeful, envious, resentful, and deceitful. The other wolf is compassionate, loving, generous, truthful, and peaceful." The child asks, "Which wolf will win the fight?" The elder responds, "The one I feed." That doesn't mean we try to deny or hurt or kill the angry wolf. If we did that, we'd end up in a long battle, all the while somehow making that wolf more powerful through our hostility and fear. Hating that wolf sucks the strength right out of us. Instead, we calmly pay attention to the angry wolf and let go of believing they have the answers. If we can do that, they end up lying down next to us, no longer an enemy. We help strengthen the kind and loving wolf, giving it nourishment and support so that we can follow it. That peaceful wolf can become our steady companion and show us the way through all kinds of different life experiences. Restful or chaotic, enjoyable or disappointing experiences may come and go, but we can have a guide with us through it all. This is what mindfulness can help you do. Mindfulness allows us to see our thoughts and feelings as they are beginning. It's very powerful to know what we're feeling as we're feeling it, know what we're thinking as we're thinking it. With mindfulness, we can choose what will strengthen and bring into action, and we can choose what we will gently let go of. We don't have to be at the mercy of old habits or old ways of thinking or old ways of being. We are empowered. It just takes practice.
thank you guys for watching that. I just want to open the conversation to like what are things that like stick out to you in the video.
I would say just like having that kind of like those two wolves, acknowledging that there's like, you know, parts of us that can be a bit more like hurt or angry or like, you know, like active like that, and then we have parts of us that are more compassionate and kind and nurturing, and like, you know, we want to make sure that we don't leave out one of them, but you know, we acknowledge that the angry wolf is there, but we also, you know, foster like the more you know, nurturing part of us, and you know what serves us better. So yeah, I like that part.
Yeah, you explained it like super well, like the premise of the whole video.
Yeah.
And I agree with just like acknowledging. They didn't say bad wolf, like the angry wolf,
Yeah.
but like not letting it like control you. That's like how I see it. And then also like the self-compassion part, like it matters like which wolf are you feeding? I believe that's
Yeah.
how I painted that. Yeah, and then I like how they said it takes practice because it truly does. Like
Yeah.
it's not like a normal like way of thinking that a lot of us engage in because we're just like always kind of stuck on certain ideas or like the future or the past. So
Yeah.
I really like seeing perspective and
Yes. Someone in chat is asking, have we been watching videos since the start of the live? No, we just got to this video like a few minutes ago. So we just started the presentation like a little bit ago, so we're in like the middle of it, so yeah. Like,
Yeah, I'm sorry.
if you missed out on like the rest of the presentation, you can like after we go offline, you can rewatch the stream and see the whole presentation. Yeah. So you can always go back to it or like rewind and go back to the video. But yeah. So yeah.
Yay. So thank you guys for being here. We wanted to highlight some of the resources and services that we have at CAPS. We just wanted to share with y'all like we have a lot of resources for students, like not only group therapy and individual therapy. So for example, we have two website-based services. One of them is called u.fullerton.edu. It's 100% free and it's confidential as well. And it really is just a platform for students to find a bunch of peer-reviewed articles on anything related to wellness. And by wellness, it can be not only just mental health, but also things like financial wellness. We have things about relationships, career growth and different types of topics. And then also, we also have really great articles on specific coping skills such as square breathing and grounding techniques that can also be helpful as well.
This is an example of a wellness activity on you. So this is called box breathing. So we want to encourage breathing as a reset. So if you join me, you can do this for like about 2 rounds. So breathing helps slow us down, activates our prefrontal cortex, and allows us to have greater mental clarity. So what we're gonna do is breathe in for 4 seconds, hold that breath for 4 seconds, breathe out for 4 seconds, and then hold that kind of like silence that like you don't have that breathlessness for 4 seconds, I suppose. So okay, let's start. Okay, so breathe in. 2, 3, 4, hold. 2, 3, 4, breathe out. 2, 3, 4, and hold. 2, 3, 4, and then once more. Breathe in. 2, 3, 4, hold. 2, 3, 4, breathe out. 2, 3, 4, and hold. 2, 3, 4. So I hope that was helpful for you. This is something that you can kind of like practice in your own time every day, just to sort of like help us again get that grounded state. So next, I also want to emphasize that we have Compass at Fullerton.edu. So essentially, Compass is a resource where you can find other resources, like essential resources in case you're in need of like housing, safety, clothing, food security, and other kinds of needs. You can use Compass to kind of navigate where you can find these sort of resources. They can also be sorted in terms of like more like urgent resources or not as urgent resources. So you can use this website. It's pretty much in the Orange County area. It'll give you resources in the Orange County area. So feel free to use this, and you can also give it to anyone you think might be in need of such resources.
So we talked about a little bit about self-compassion, and when we hear the word compassion, it's really something that we really think about showing it to other people, but it's also important to give that compassion to yourself and to be kind to yourself. And just wanted to share a quote by Kristin Neff, and she's a psychologist, and she really talks about self-compassion and like its connection to our mental health and things like that. So instead of mercilessly judging and criticizing yourself for various inadequacies or shortcomings, self-compassion means that you're kind and understanding confronted with personal failings. So in short, like it's important to give yourselves the grace and the compassion the same way that like you give it to your loved ones and your friends. And like as students, like we're not just students, we might have other responsibilities and roles, and it might come with a lot of expectations and pressures that we're putting on ourselves or other people are putting on us. So it's important to like accept your humanness and the imperfections that you might have. So yeah, that's a message that we wanted to give you guys today. And if you're interested in learning more about self-compassion and specifically like what areas you might need more growth in, or how well you're doing with self-compassion, you can scan this QR code and it'll take you to a quiz where it'll help you kind of gain that insight on your personal self-compassion. And some other small techniques we also wanted to share with you today, not just for mood, but overall mental health. It can be positive affirmations and reflection of the day. So if you haven't heard of positive affirmations, it's essentially messages or quotes or any type of words that we can give to ourselves in order to help with things like maybe self-confidence, self-esteem, or having more positive thinking if that's something that you're working on. So yeah, this is also a part of self-compassion in a way that you can practice it. And it can involve either just saying these words out loud to yourself, or writing them down, or just grounding yourself and really reflecting on like the things and messages that you want to say to yourself. And then lastly, like I said, reflection of the day. Sometimes the days can just like pass us. We don't really process or really think about like the good parts of our day, or like really reflecting on ourselves and how we were doing. So that can be especially helpful as well. And if you want to learn and see more about the content that we shared today regarding our CAP services as well as Mood Wellness, like please scan this QR code for a worksheet and it can help you, engage the things that we talked about today.
So again, we have our Mood Wellness packet as well as the Mood Wellness handout. You're able to find these on our CAPS website as well, in case you'd like to kind of take something home with you, as well as like a summary of our presentation today overall. So next, I'll be going over the CAPS resources. So on the bottom, like we talked about, we have our more online, you can access at home kind of resources such as You, Compass, and our CAPS social media and website. In green, we have the more low commitment kind of resources, such as doggy therapy. We have puppies coming to campus. We have our CAPS wellness room where students are able to use our massage chairs and napping pods. We have drop-in groups and therapy groups hosted by our licensed clinical counselors. We also have wellness coaching, case management, and off-campus referrals. Our resources in yellow are more commitment-based, of course. So we have individual short-term therapy, single session therapy. We also have psychiatry services where we can prescribe medication in case that is appropriate for your case. We also have massage therapy too. And lastly, we have the resources in red, which are our crisis resources. So we have our CAPS and UPD crisis team, in which they go on campus, and if there's any person in distress and they're unable to make it to Titan Hall, they can help that person get to where they need to go. And our 24-hour crisis hotline, and we also have walk-in crisis hours as well. This is if a student is feeling in distress and and there's a threat that may be harm to themselves or others. This would be a good resource to use. And again, our crisis services are mostly for the purpose of safety planning. So yeah. So,
I'll start.
yeah.
No, that's good. I was gonna say thank you guys for attending and being with us today. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at CSUFCAPS to stay updated on our events and doggy therapy and just a lot of information regarding wellness if that's something that you're interested in. We have a evaluation that we hope that you can fill out. So we have the link below as well as the QR code. Like we really want to hear from you to see how we can improve our workshops and see the things that we're also doing well in. That would be super helpful for us. But other than that, this concludes the Mood Wellness workshop.
Thank you all.
Thank you.